Hey folks, Jay from Cold Nights here, and we're starting a new series where we're going to go over classic issues of Game Informer, Nintendo Power, and PC Magazine. Or basically whatever periodicals I have. I have quite a collection, and I'm excited to go through them with you, so we can reminisce on some of the great releases and announcements, and the incredible advertisements that are in these magazines. So, today we're going to be doing Game Informer issue 171, Fallout 3. Let's get into it. Alright, so, before we get started, I'm a working man, so no comments about my fingernails. But let's get right to it. The opening ads are always fun, and this one was a classic horror game, Darkness. I definitely love the advertisement here. You definitely can get the creepy horror vibe, and seeing this in this magazine years ago would have definitely got you excited for the game. Next up, we have Ninja Gaiden Sigma. Wow, I can remember this one. This was a classic. These games were so hard. Maybe some of you did alright with them, but I definitely struggled with them. But love anything from Tecmo Koei. Rainbow Six Vegas. Now, I never got into Tom Clancy games. I remember playing Rainbow Six on the Dreamcast, and I thought it was incredibly difficult. It was never really my thing, but you can see, it seems people really liked this. 9.5 out of 10, 5 out of 5, 9.3 out of 10, 5 out of 5. It looks like it was reviewed pretty well. Back when Ubisoft made quality games. Dirt. The king of dirt, fueled adrenaline is calling you out. That dude looks, I don't know. He looks pretty serious. Nice car, though. I never really got into these. I remember my son played them a lot when he was younger. He did like the dirt games. Alright, so we got some content. Fallout 3 is the featured thing. It's really crazy to look back in these and see all the licensed games. Looking at something like Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Great film, but to see the ad for the Wii game is something pretty interesting. So, go Johnny Depp. Alright, what is this? Some kind of PC setup. The XPS 720HC. That's quite an impressive looking tower. I mean, mine looks pretty cool, but I don't think it looks that cool. Wow. Looks pretty neat, especially for the time back then, but that must have cost a fortune. I can't even imagine what that... Oh, $6,000! Holy crap! Wow. Woo! That is quite the gaming PC. And we got the staff. Not really too concerned about that. Look at that! Look at that terrifying Shadowrun advertisement with many, many eyes in the back of your head. Wow. In any other game, this might actually help you. Alright. I'm definitely going to have to check that out then. Alright. GI Spy. Game Informer Spy. Looks like they're out trying out guitars. Oh, and look at this. Say hello to your new guitar. Using a guitar pick on the touchscreen of your DS. I don't think I remember that. Another Ubisoft banger, though. It seems like a pretty cool, novel idea. We might have to check that out sometime. Alright, Dear GI. I'm not going to read those, but it was always fun reading them. Every once in a while you'd get like angry readers that are like, I don't agree with your review of this. It was always fun to kind of hear that. Good stuff. Ooh, Scarface. Classic. I always loved those mob games. There were so many of those that came out over like a 10 or 15 year span. And they're all good. I certainly haven't played all of them, but every one that I tried was always pretty good. So it was quite the genre of game, for sure. Alright, more Dear GI, and then we have Freestyle, Street Basketball. I never really got into those. I am one of the geek jocks. I do love sports. But I was always more of a simulation person. Back in these days, it probably would have been, 2K2. I love the NBA, NFL, World Series baseball. Nowadays, I love the show. I only really play the baseball game now, but back then, there was a great choice you had between simulation style games and these arcade ones, and a lot of people loved the arcade ones, so that's pretty cool. All right, StarCraft 2. I never got into StarCraft, never got into Warcraft, so never really been a Blizzard gamer. I'm sure many of you are. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite Blizzard games are. But I never got into them. But they were very, very popular for a long, long time. Alternate reality gaming. Huh. Perplexity. Collectible puzzle card game. Maybe it's a ARG. So it's kind of like a precursor to Pokemon Go, maybe? I don't know. It's pretty interesting. More about it. It'd be pretty cool if they did, integrate a story like some of the horror ARGs that were online. That'd be pretty neat. Ooh, Rise of the Silver Surfer, another licensed game. These magazines are full of licensed games. And most of these were not actually that bad. That was an age where licensed games were much better than they were, back on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo with LJN games. So, I'm sure if you picked this up today, you probably could get some fun out of it. It's probably not a, all-time favorite, but I'm sure you'd have some fun with it. Oh, look at that. We got some Guitar Hero, and then look at those bods. Look at his six-pack, look at her bum. You, the gaming nerd, who's reading this magazine, can look like one of those people if you buy a Bowflex. Yeah, no. Can drama be a game genre? Now, when I was preparing for this video, I was reading this, and that's literally talking about, story-based games. It's so crazy that back in this time, we were so focused on action in games that the idea of a story-heavy game was something that you would debate. That's pretty crazy. I love them. I don't necessarily want it to be to the point where it's a walking simulator, but I definitely do love them. And here we go, the Bigs. That was an arcade-style baseball game. I did enjoy it. It was kind of like MLB Slugfest, but definitely still at that time, I would have been playing probably MVP baseball. So, yeah, I mean, that was fun, but nothing like the simulation for me. Sony shows off upcoming slate of games. So what do we have here? We have Pain. Do you guys remember Pain? Pain was one of the, I don't know if it was a launch title for the PS3, but it was one of the earlier games. And you slung your character from a slingshot, and the goal was to hit as many things as you could in the most gnarly ways, and you would get bonus points for taking things out or injuring yourself. And then later on, they had all these DLCs where you could pick sexy characters and ridiculous characters. It was a pretty fun game, believe it or not. Siphon Filter, Logan Shadow. I don't remember checking that one out. But look at that folklore. Good stuff right there. Folklore. Definitely been on one of my most valuable videos. These games are worth how much? Yeah. To think that those were upcoming games. Hour of Victory. Don't even remember it. It couldn't have been that great. Midway game. Looks like it was a 360 exclusive. Do any of you guys remember that game? Let me know down in the comments. Gears of War Sharpshooter. So this must focus on people who are on the leaderboards. That's pretty interesting. That they would report on the best gamers. So Daniel Vasquez was apparently an expert at Gears of War. That's pretty cool. Games, games, and games. Look at this. Mobile phone ringtones. Look at that. I see boobs. I see butts. I see skulls. Every teenage gamer's ultimate ringtone screensavers. Look at this. This is ridiculous. But oh yeah, we got Scarface. We got some butts, skulls, the Lucky 7. Wow. So don't forget to text 75555, and Jamster will send you a picture of someone's butt. Pretty interesting stuff. Changing the games. 3D Realms bets big on new IP. And what is this IP we are looking at here? I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at. Duke Nukem? It says I was bet on Duke. I mean, that's not really a new IP. Maybe it was the first time they were involved with it? Could be. Good stuff. Descent, Wolfenstein 3D. Huh. I'm trying to read what this says here. 3D Realms has been lending its development expertise to hand-selected products off and on since the early 90s. Huh. Well, couldn't have been that big. Earth No More. Disaster done right. I don't think I've ever heard of Earth No More. Have you guys heard of that one? Hunger gets what hunger wants. Ballpark. Now, I'm pretty sure I remember there was like an alien horror movie where like a arm or a hand like came out of the dude's shirt as like an extra and would like attack people. So yeah, I mean, I definitely would much prefer to use it to feed myself than to attack people. So that's kind of weird. I remember the good, the bad, and the ugly. I loved this. So let's take a look at what we thought was the good. For those of you who have purchased an Xbox 360 Elite and need a transfer cable, alright, so you can get a pretty cool transfer cable. It looks like they're playing, Richard Garriott is playing Games in Space. Ugly. Sony Online Entertainment acquired Vanguard creator Sigil Games. I guess that's an ugly thing. That is not good. EA Spore has been delayed indefinitely. Oh wow, Spore. That's quite a long time ago. Huh. Spore. I remember that was a huge deal when that was coming out, and my wife was so excited for it. Had fun with it, but it wasn't quite... I wouldn't say it was quite like the epic failure that like No Man's Sky was as far as expectations, but it wasn't what everyone thought it would be. PlayStation Home and Little Big Planet, huh? Go Phil Harrison. You guys remember PlayStation Home? I got into it when they were like doing away with it. So I didn't really get to fully experience it. But did any of you guys get to check out PlayStation Home? I definitely did a lot in Little Big Planet. And that was pretty neat. But yeah, Wow. PlayStation Home. Who would have thought? Call of Juarez. Classic stuff. I'm telling you, it seems like Ubisoft really loved working with GameStop. They definitely have a lot of ads in here. And I'll bet you if you were to historically look at how Ubisoft games were rated by GameStop and Game Informer, they probably have an edge over other developers. What do we got? Sound Off, Battle of the Speaker Systems. Wow. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff. So we got a whole page of speakers. Then we got Star Wars Pocket Model TCG. I remember those. I remember putting them together. They used like this like rigid plastic cardboard type stuff. It was like laminated. Those were actually kind of fun to build. And in the pack would come with one buildable like character or ship, and then it would come with some cards. So that is pretty neat. We have model ray guns. We got the hottest graphics card at the time, the ATI Radeon HD 2900 XT. Wow, that sounds pretty impressive. All right, let's see what else we got. The Battle for Control. It's no accident that games with unique input devices have been at the top of the positive reviews, buzzing word of mouth and top of sales. New controllers are opening the horizons of gaming design. Oh yeah, you know those Wii motion controllers. Gotta love them. So let's see what our calendar looked like. We had Vampire Rain coming out, Project Sylphid, that's a classic. Tales of the World, Radiant Mythology. Wow. So there are so many like RPG friends that I have, and Tales of the World, Radiant Mythology is a classic. And to think that we were looking back, Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3 coming out 7/24. To think that we're back in that time where we just had a remaster of it, like a remake of it. That's pretty neat to go back and look at these things. It's one of the things I really love. Lair, another classic. Wow. Looking back at these is pretty fun. Fallout 3, Into the Wasteland. Guys, Fallout 3 was one of those games where I was so in love with it. I had never experienced anything like this. I was very much a console gamer. So when games like this started rolling out, I wasn't really experiencing them. And Fallout 3 completely changed my view on gaming. So though it's probably not my favorite game of all time, it's always going to be one of the most important because it really changed how I looked at things. I had never experienced such an immersive world before. Even in a lot of the JRPGs I played, it was never this in depth, and so much you could do, and so many choices you could make. I remember loving the game so much that I struggled through, because I was playing it on the PS3. I struggled through all the game-breaking bugs, because, if you remember correctly, there was a memory leak. And the larger your save file got, which basically was the longer you played and the further in the game you had gotten, the more it would slow down and drop frames, and the more it would freeze and lock up. I remember trying to progress through the DLC, and the game would lock up for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. And you would sit there and wonder if it was done, if you were actually frozen and you lost your progress. And you would wait, and then it would come back, and you were like, yes, I can play for another 10 minutes before it freezes again. That's to the point it was at, and I made it through a lot of it, like the Alien DLC and everything. So that game was that important to me that I was willing to suffer through that. But look at some of this stuff. Can you remember this? I remember walking out into the wasteland for the first time. Remember, I said I wasn't a PC gamer, so I hadn't experienced the Fallout tactical games, the strategy games before, the more isometric looking ones. When I walked out, and the first time that drone came up, and it was playing the president's message. Something so incredible. I was hooked like right away. Love that game to death. And look at that. Remember the VAT system? The good old VAT system. Every game since has had some kind of variation of it. It was classic. I loved it. It was so fun. And that sound it made, that like when it would turn on, like that's such a classic gaming sound. Man, I miss that. Now I want to load up Fallout 3. But we're going to play on PC this time. Oh, Power Armor, man. The first time popping into a Power Armor is something special. Something special. The good old behemoth. Look at that. And imagine what it was like to be looking at this when it was just releasing or upcoming. And you're like, oh my god, this looks so good. Incredible. Incredible stuff. Look at that. Look at that landscape. War. War never changes. Wow. Such great memories of that game. Let me tell you. Rock Band. Never got into it at all. I did play a little Guitar Hero. I did really enjoy Guitar Hero Aerosmith. I still have the full set. I still have the sticker sheets. I never applied them. So I have the guitars, I have the sticker sheets. It's probably actually quite valuable. I have the boxes for it in storage. But Rock Band and Guitar Hero was such a phenomenon back then. But now you can go into like any thrift store and find the guitars for like $1. And they work. But I remember buying them for my son as like a toy when we'd see them in the thrift stores, when we'd be like picking for game deals or toy deals at like Savers or Goodwill. We'd see one of those for like $1 or $1.50, and I'd buy it for him to just play with. Forget even ever plugging it in. So neat stuff. Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dark Athena. Wow, Vin Diesel. If I remember correctly, this is one of the few times where like I'm pretty sure he was like intimately involved with the project. I remember I could have sworn he was doing like the voice acting for it and stuff, and it was pretty rare to have actors like that involved with it. Tom Clancy's End War, again, nothing. I never get into the Tom Clancy stuff. Project Gotham Racing. I remember those were very popular games. I never was a huge racing person. My son got into like Forza and stuff, and when I was younger, I did play like Gran Turismo, but I definitely was overwhelmed by like the simulation aspect of it. I was definitely more of an arcade racer type of person. When it got into like what spark plugs I'm going to use and what like exhaust manifold, like I can't. There's a reason I pay people to fix my car. That's not one of my skill sets or interests. Fracture. God of War: Chains of Olympus. These were some titles that I wouldn't say that they were huge, but they were pretty looked forward to at the time. They did all right. Tony Hawk's Proving Ground and Skate. A lot of people like Skate, but it seemed like after Tony Hawk 2, that franchise went downhill. Downhill Jam. I remember getting the Tony Hawk's 4 game and being like, wow, this is not good. It was very sad. Ooh, wrestling games have always been fun. When you go back to like WCW versus NWO, and even going back to like Royal Rumble on like the Super Nintendo, I've always loved them. I don't think there's ever been a wrestling game I didn't like. I remember competitively playing as, who was I playing as? Jimmy Uso, in like 2K16 or 17. Beautiful Katamari. Oh man, guys, the Katamari games are so fun. If you've never played those, you gotta play them. It sounds stupid to roll a ball around that's like getting everything, like a giant. Literally, it gets so big it's like picking up buildings and whales and stuff. But it starts so small, it's picking up like paper clips and like lint. Freaking awesome. Love those games to death. The replay value is so great because there's like a full collection for every game where you got to pick up everything. It is so fun to play. Ooh, sports ball. Nope, I only like the 2K football games, so these are all yucky. Yucky. Definitely yucky soccer. Ooh, Left 4 Dead. We love Left 4 Dead. That's pretty cool. Oh my god, zombies. Left 4 Dead. Good stuff. Time Crisis 4. Wow. Love it. The Time Crisis games were all incredible. Sword of the New World, Granado Espada. I don't remember that. Did any of you guys remember that? Let me know down in the comments if you remember playing Sword of the New World, Granado Espada. I never got into flying games. I did like some shmups, but definitely not these like war simulators where you're doing like dogfights. I was never huge into those, but a lot of people swear by them. Devil May Cry 4. Ooh, Silent Hill Origins. The last good Silent Hill game. Well, the remake's great. But Silent Hill Origins. Wow. That game is worth a lot now, by the way. Check out my Silent Hill games are worth how much video, and you'll be shocked by how much all of them are worth. Good stuff. Ghost Squad. That one I don't remember. Huh. Ghosts don't need recon. Sounds like another Tom Clancy game. Photophile. Universe at War, Earth Assault. Life Signs Surgical Unit. Let me tell you guys, I loved those like surgeon simulators on the Wii. I really got into those, like the Trauma, I think it was called Trauma Unit or something like that. I loved those games. Those were really fun. Typing of the Dead, I remember that. Oh my god, that's classic. Wow. The Witcher 1. The first Witcher. Holy cow. That's going back. Sometimes it's crazy to think where some of these games coexisted. Like we have The Witcher and Fallout 3 and Typing of the Dead 2. All existing in the same space at the same time. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around it. Because you think very linearly about the game series. So that's pretty interesting. Reviews. Okay, this is where it gets good. Game of the month, Odin Sphere. Odin Sphere is a tremendous game. Love it. That is a good pick, Game Informer. You did good. You did good. Lord of the Rings Online. I know a lot of people enjoyed that while it was out. But let's get to the nitty-gritty and see what they reviewed here. Alright, so Spider-Man 3 got an 8. I don't remember playing that one. I did play some of the later Spider-Man games, but not that one. The Bigs, 7.5. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, a 6. Ninja Gaiden Sigma got a 9. Wow. Maybe at the time that game seemed that good. Looking back, it's great, but I don't know if it's a 9. MLB 07 The Show. To think. The Show 2024 we were just playing. I played it 700 hours this year. That's how much I love baseball. But yeah, 7.5 back in these days. Odin Sphere. So they gave it an 8.5, but it was the game of the month. And they gave, if I remember correctly, Ninja Gaiden Sigma a 9. So why did that not get game of the month? Controversy. But I would say looking back, Odin Sphere is a much better game. Ooh. They gave Dot Hack GU Volume 2 Reminisce a 5.75. That makes me sad. Those Dot Hack games were really incredible. It's really too bad that they didn't look on that very fondly. I enjoyed all of them. Speaking of Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, We were just talking about that and how terrible that is, and it got a 4, so that seems appropriate. Tomb Raider Anniversary, 8.5. Definitely pretty cool to see that. Love those old Tomb Raider games. I just recently picked up the remasters on the Switch, and I'm excited to play those. I do miss the old polygonal Lara Croft. Hot Shots Tennis, 8.25. It's pretty crazy that those games got rated so highly. Kind of think of those as like throwaway, Hot Shots Tennis, Hot Shots Golf. They're kind of like bargain games now. But back then, apparently they were looked on pretty fondly. Resident Evil 4, 9.5, and it was not the game of the month. What happened here? That is insane. Resident Evil 4 is one of the greatest games, period, but definitely one of the greatest survival horror games ever made. No matter what your opinion is on how it became action-oriented and how it led to 5 and 6, I'm very surprised that didn't get Game of the Month. Pretty interesting that it did not. Mario Party 8, I've never been a huge Mario Party person. I've dabbled in them, but 7.25. I know some people are really, really into them. I'd be curious to see what the Nintendo Power of the time gave it. We'll have to cross-reference that. If anyone knows what Mario Party 8 got in Nintendo Power, let me know down in the comments. Mercury Meltdown Revolution, 6.5. I remember that game seeming pretty neat, but obviously it didn't work out. Then we got Spider-Man 3 on the Wii. Of course, it has to be rated differently because the Wii seems like everything was dumbed down for it, or there was straight up like huge graphical changes. I remember they did that with the Ghostbusters game that came out. Call of Juarez, 7.25. That was a great game. I probably would have rated that a bit higher. Forza Motorsport 2, 8.25. That's another one that probably should have been rated higher. That was a very popular game. I don't know how it compares to other Forza games, but it seemed like it was very popular. Lord of the Rings Online, 8.5. I was an MMO person for a while, but I played Ragnarok Online, I played a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online, and I played Final Fantasy XIV for quite a long time. I don't currently play any MMOs, but those were fond days. I never tried Lord of the Rings, though, but it looks like it was rated pretty well. Parappa the Rapper. Oh, wow. Wow. The PSP version of Parappa the Rapper. Driver 76 on PSP. I love the Driver 1 and 2. I don't remember Driver 76. Ooh, this is one I definitely liked. Innocent Life, A Futuristic Harvest Moon. All of those games are fun. The only one that I put a huge significant amount of time into is Winds of Anthos, their latest one, and they fixed a lot of great stuff in it. That sounded weird. They made a lot of great changes to the series that kind of brought it back to its roots. So I definitely enjoyed that as someone who does, from time to time, enjoy cozy games. I probably put 50 hours into it, 60 hours into it. Definitely enjoyed that. You could get zebras. It was incredible. Ooh, Final Fantasy Anniversary Edition, 7.5. Dynasty Warriors DS Fighters Battle. That was one that I was recently talking to my good friend Miss Mandia about when we were looking into like obscure DS games. I didn't know that existed. And I am one of the hugest Tecmo Koei fanboys, and I would have told you I've played every single Musou game that's out there. I didn't know that existed. So I did order it, and it's sealed. I haven't opened it. Maybe someday I'll open it, but it's pretty cool to have. SNK versus Capcom Card Fighters. I don't remember playing the card game for that, but all the versus games that Capcom was involved in were incredible. So the charts, this is always something fun to look at here. So let's look at what we got. We have Pokemon Diamond at number 1 and Pokemon Pearl at number 2, of course. Super Paper Mario, We Play with Remote, Guitar Hero 2 with Guitar, another Guitar Hero 2 with guitar, Spider-Man 3 in 2 different iterations, God of War 2, MLB 07 The Show, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Spectrobes, Tiger Woods. I'll tell you guys, if you don't love golf, that's fine. But the Tiger Woods golf games were so fun. Just like the Mario golf games were. Golf is something that surprisingly translates very well over into gaming. I've always loved golf games. Even some of the simulators, like the PGA games, I've really enjoyed. Diddy Kong Racing and Mario Kart DS. Good stuff. I used to love looking through the archives. I loved it because it would go back like a year, and you could see what other games were rated. It was always pretty neat to look through. And this one, Game Boy Advance, PC. I'm trying to see how far... Oh, it even still has PlayStation 2 games. That is pretty neat. Good stuff. Secret Access. So, I always like this because it reminded me of like the Nintendo Power stuff, where you would get codes and stuff and find tips for the games. This was on a smaller scale, but it was always pretty neat to see. And you gotta remember, this was before the internet really became super pervasive. A lot of people were online, but it wasn't like at your fingertips like it is with your phone now with smartphones. So there was still some worth, some value to these gaming codes and secrets and like strategy guides. Now you don't need to buy them. Strategy guides are a collector's item. Most of them come sealed and people don't even open them because you can just look it up on your phone. I mean, why not? Gridiron's Greatest Moments, classic GI. Again, I'm not super into football. That wasn't 2K. Do they have 2K in here? No. Classic GI though, Mario 64. So I liked these because they had the retro ratings and then the now ratings. So at the time, that got a 9.75, a nearly perfect score. And at this time in history, they would say that it was a 9. So it went down a little bit. So those rose-colored glasses darkened a bit, but it's pretty cool to see that. Star Wars TIE Fighter. Resident Evil 2, then a 9.5, now 8.5. I imagine that's simply the tank controls. But folks, that's probably the greatest survival horror game ever made. I know I just said that about 4, but Resident Evil 2 is something supremely and special. Supremely special. Game Informer Online. Extra content you can find at GameInformer.com. And to think that eventually it would get to the point where they preferred you to take that as your subscription. Game Over. I always loved the trivia at the end of these. It would be fun to ask some of them. You probably can't really see the answers. So let's see. Let's pick one that would be fun. Alright, Super Mario Bros. 2 had a hard time growing up. It tended to get beat up a lot after school, and it never managed to kiss a girl. But it still had some pretty sweet enemies. Which one of these didn't show up for the first time in that game? Bob-omb, Shy Guy, Tweeter, or Chain Chomp? So that's number 8. And I'll give you guys a moment to think that over. You ready? The answer is D, the Chain Chomp. Good times. Alright, Dungeons and Dragons Tactics, the ultimate handheld RPG, coming in June. That's one I never checked out, but that sounds pretty fun. I might have to check that out on PSP. I doubt it's super expensive. But I do love tactic games, and Dungeons and Dragons stuff is fun. Alright, game on with the new Helio. available at select GameStop locations. Alright, well guys, I thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to doing this again with you soon. We won't do these every week, but maybe every few weeks we'll dive in to other classic game periodicals. As always, thank you for watching, and stay creepy. Bye guys.